I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you'd like to join us in the prayer, please stand. Heavenly Father, as we gather here before you, we ask for your blessing upon many people in our community. We ask for the blessing upon our Jewish friends who are celebrating Passover, that this holy time for them is meaningful. We pray for all of us Christians who are celebrating our season of Lent, and we ask that you be with all of those families who are grieving from the loss of loved ones. We want to pray for our military who are away serving our country and protecting our freedom. And we want to pray for our policemen and our firemen that you keep them safe now and throughout the year. For these blessings and all things we ask in your name, amen. Councilmember DeNapolis, could you lead us in the pledge?
Madam Chairman, you have a quorum this evening. Council members Black and DeFrances are absent. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. Under the consent agenda this evening, we have item 1, approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of April 3rd, 2014. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. We have none. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 1812-14, Mariana LLC, doing business as Don Jose's Grill, to hold a public gathering for the purpose of Cinco de Mayo on May 3rd and 4th, 2014, from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. at Don Jose's Grill in Kenner, Louisiana. Madam Chairman, we've received a request this evening to amend this item.
Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. I spoke with the owner, and we'd like to just make it for May 4th and change the times from 11 to 11 to 1 p.m. to 10 p.m.
I have a motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Brannigan, to amend the application to reflect just the date of the 4th, May 4th, and the time change to 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. Council members, please vote on that amendment.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 4 is correspondence and reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. Item 4A, at the request of the administration, Ms. Lacey Bordelon with JEDCO to address the council regarding a presentation of economic development activities for the year of 2013 with a brief update of 2014.
Good evening. It's good to see you guys. My name is Lacey Bordelon with JEDCO, Director of Economic Development Services. I'd first like to introduce two of JEDCO's true assets that have accompanied me tonight. Kate Moriano, our Economic Development Specialist. She'll be assisting with the slide transitions this evening. And our Executive Director, Jerry Bologna, is sitting in the audience as well. So thank you so much for including my presentation on your agenda this evening. And is it up? There we go. I'm sure it's going to show sooner unless there's something that I have to do. Great. Perfect. My purpose for coming before you today is to share with you highlights of JEDCO's 2013 annual report of our business retention and expansion program in the city of Kenner. I believe each of you have a copy of the report in front of you, so feel free to review it at your leisure. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, just feel free to contact me. Now, it's hard to believe that time has passed so quickly. 2013 was the 5th consecutive year of the cooperative endeavor agreement between JEDCO and the city of Kenner. Under this agreement, JEDCO is charged with providing economic development expertise and services to the city and its business community via a full-time economic development specialist employed by JEDCO. On that note, I do regret to inform you that Catherine Terrio, your Economic Development Specialist for most of 2013 and the first quarter of this year, has tendered her resignation. She was offered a great opportunity in her home parish to apply her expertise and her skills to. So we're super happy for her, very sorry to see her go, but want to assure you that we're moving towards filling the vacated position. We've advertised it, we've received many resumes, and we've actually scheduled a few interviews in the upcoming week. And we'll keep you posted on that. But in the meantime, any business referrals or any questions, concerns, just direct them to me, please. Thank you. In 2013, our work performed in the City of Kenner was in accordance with a set of clearly defined deliverables. The first and probably most critical to the health of Kenner pertains to JEDCO's Business Retention and Expansion Program. We embrace a strong business retention strategy because studies show that the bulk of jobs created in a community are done so by its existing businesses. And those businesses are hiring locals, and those locals are spending their money here to buy things that they need, paying sales taxes, some of them buying homes and paying property taxes. So the value of our business retention program should not be underestimated. The intent of the program is to uncover any warning signs that the business could be closing or relocating or possibly undergoing some layoffs in the future. Also to uncover opportunities for the company where we can step in and provide assistance, whether it's tax incentives, financing, or by other means. Now, over the course of last year, we provided outreach to a diverse mix of 151 Kenner businesses, and we were successful in holding business retention visits with 51 Kenner companies. Go back one slide. Thank you. And then just to provide you with some background on these companies, just under a third, 31%, primarily serve the local market area. Almost half the companies at 48% serve a regional market, 17% serve customers nationwide, and 3% primarily service international customers. The bulk of companies met with at 58% employ 25 or less workers, followed by 19% that employ between 26 and 50 employees, and the remaining 25% employ at least 51 workers. In all, the 56 companies met with employ a combined total of 3,500 or over 3,500 full-time employees and 256 part-time employees. Now, of the companies our staff met with, the majority are in manufacturing industry, transportation and warehousing, and construction industries, followed by wholesale trade, professional services, particularly engineering firms, and accommodation and food services. But you'll see by the industry breakdown that we were able to meet with a very diverse mix of companies and across industries. Also, 62% of the companies we met with were their only location of the business. We call them single location headquarters, while about 1/4 of the companies were branch operations, 10% headquarter operations with other locations outside of the City of Kenner, and 2% of regional headquarters. And about 58% own their properties in Kenner and 41% lease. Now, in our business retention interviews, many topics are discussed, including current sales, their projections, their satisfaction with the city's services, workforce matters, and much more. And here's just a snapshot of what Kenner businesses reported. More than half of the companies, or 57%, report sales are increasing, and 33% reporting stable sales. The outlook in terms of sales is very positive, with 83% forecasting their sales to increase over the next 2 years. And really, that's the highest percentage of positive sales projection that we've seen in Kenner since at least 2009, since we started tracking this data. And 15% expect sales to stabilize. Over a third of the businesses, 37%, responding to the question of whether they have plans for expansion in the next 3 years, indicated that they do indeed have plans for expansion. and another third, 35%, are considering expansions, but that's just dependent on how certain factors play into it, such as their ability to find a suitable building or location to house their expansion, to secure financing, or to secure more business contracts. So I mentioned 37% of companies reported expansions are definitely on the horizon or undergoing expansions currently. And what this means in terms of economic impact to the city is an anticipated combined total investment of over $14 million, the addition of 256 jobs, and of over 250,000 square feet of building space. And just a few more highlights from our meetings that I wanted to share with you. Some good news. The vast majority of companies we interviewed, 98%, do not anticipate layoffs within 6 months of our meeting with them. Only one company reported anticipated layoffs within 6 months of our meeting. That company requested to remain confidential and cited a merger as the reason for the anticipated layoffs, and that number of employees was not divulged. But some more good news. Among these companies surveyed, there was a total net gain of 53 employees over the last 2 years. So 66% of companies increased employment over the last 2 years by a total of 136 employees. And that's an average of 8 employees per business. 33 companies decreased their employment over the last 2 years at a total loss of 83 employees. And a very positive reflection on Kenner is that 81% of companies reported satisfaction with the city's services and departments. I'd say that's a pretty high percentage. Now, oftentimes our meetings with business owners require follow-up assistance to resolve an issue or to provide resources or information that can help them meet their long and short-term goals. Last year, we assisted in a variety of ways, including interfacing with a utility provider regarding a long-standing issue the business had been facing, and due to that action, that issue was resolved. We interfaced and coordinated a meeting with key city personnel to respond to a manufacturer's questions and concerns regarding apparent code violations in the area that the business is located, as well as the building and permitting requirements of the city for that company's potential expansion on their site. We also researched metal fabricators for a Kenner manufacturer who had invented this really innovative device. And it was searching for a company that could basically manufacture a metal component of the device. So we searched through our industry contacts, identified a Jefferson Parish metal fabricator that had the capability to do this, and put the two together. And they're in discussions now, and perhaps that could lead to a potential business partnership. We provided guidance on business networking and recommended recommendations for sales opportunities to a personal service business. And for many businesses, we provide guidance on financing and incentive options. One business in particular, an apparel manufacturer, we explored JETCO's loan programs for their proposed expansion that would include the purchase of land and a building to consolidate their manufacturing and warehousing operations at a total project cost of over $730,000. And I'm happy to report that JETCO's Finance Committee approved our participation in this loan, and we're just now waiting on bank approval. We also assisted a few businesses in their quest for guidance on business plan creation and their certifications for small businesses, and conducted site searches for available properties to accommodate expanding companies, such as a daycare facility and also that apparel manufacturer. Our State Department of Economic Development's incentive programs for businesses are designed to encourage job growth and investment, and they do this via tax credits, rebates, and abatements in some cases. In 2013, 4 Kenner companies enrolled in at least one state tax incentive program for their expansion projects that are anticipated to yield a combined total investment of over $1 million, create 17 new jobs while retaining 40 jobs. And these companies are taking advantage of the Enterprise Zone program, which provides a tax credit of $2,500 per each net new job created, plus a 4% sales and use tax rebate from the state on the purchase of equipment, machinery, furniture, fixtures, and 1% rebate of local sales and use tax on those same purchases. Or in lieu of the sales and use tax rebate, a company can take advantage of a 1.5% refundable tax credit. One of the 4 companies, a manufacturer, is also taking advantage of the industrial tax exemption program, which provides an ad valorem tax abatement on a manufacturer's new investments to the land, buildings, machinery, and equipment for up to 10 years. JEDCO plays a role in educating business owners of these tax incentive programs. We assist them through the incentive application and notification processes, and we also prepare the documents and route them that are required for the business to receive the local benefits of the program. In 2013, our staff submitted properties within the city of Kenner to site search requests from 33 businesses. 6 businesses requested sites solely in the city of Kenner, while 9 welcomed Kenner sites in addition to other parts of the parish, and then we responded to 18 additional requests for properties parish-wide. Most of the requests received were for office space, also industrial buildings and vacant land, followed by requests for retail or commercial spaces, and 3 for a hospitality building, restaurants primarily. Since 2009, the number of site search requests that we respond to with Kenner Properties has been on the rise, and in terms of property type desired, requests for retail have been flat since 2009. In 2013, the city of Kenner garnered interest from several prospects and remained the place of choice for several expanding companies already domiciled here. Prospects seeking space in the city fell within the following industries: some retail, consumer service, food service, manufacturing, information technology, healthcare, and public administration. And to date, we're actually still working with 2 of these prospects, and we hope to bring you guys some good news soon. Other activities that JEDCO has undertaken in the city of Kenner over the past year include serving in a supporting role to the mayor's Economic Development Committee in its Kenner 2030 plan. In carrying out this role, one task that we undertook was to develop a special feature on our website highlighting properties in Rivertown that are for sale or for lease. These properties include both the city-owned properties and privately owned properties, and we worked closely with the city's planning department for information on those city-owned buildings. Our website featured properties page serves as a resource to prospective companies that are seeking space within the parish. We also completed the update of the City of Kenner Economic Profile, which we renamed to the Community and Economic Development Profile for the City of Kenner, including the most current data, demographics, and pictures. We worked with the city's IT department to provide a link to this document from the city's website, and of course, it's also available for download on our website. And this document contains a wealth of information that's of value to businesses, site selectors, and also potential residents, and includes tax incentives, financing programs, Kenner, parish, and metropolitan area demographics, and Kenner's quality of life features. And we also developed the City of Kenner Business Resource Guide, which you have before you. It's a 3-fold brochure containing key information and contacts for anyone wishing to start a business in the City of Kenner. It's also an excellent resource for existing business owners. We produced several copies of this brochure. We stocked the Occupational License Office, Mayor's Office, Finance Department, and the Hispanic Resource Center with copies. And this year, we will maintain the document, updating it as necessary reproduce and, of course, restock the documents as needed. And to provide you with a quick note of our activities this year, we are continuing our business retention and expansion efforts in Kenner. So far, we've conducted 9 visits with companies, and we'll continue to focus our energy on our business outreach efforts. So we just ask that if you have a business in your district that is in need of assistance, please feel free to refer that business to us, or provide me with their information, or give them my information, however you choose to do it, but we stand ready to assist in any way we can. And I'm happy to address any questions you all might have this evening.
Any council members? Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. As you remember, Ms. Bordelon, the 32nd Street property that used to be the airport buyout property was purchased through a land swap with the airport by Mr. Bob Merrick and Gregory Clayton. They have since done a swap themselves, and the owners of that property now is the corporate Home Depot. I'm hopeful that we thought there was going to be some development over the past several years. I'm hopeful with the administration, with JEDCO, with the new councilman coming in, that we can make a refocus on that piece of property. It's a very large piece of vacant property.
Right, I'm familiar with it. We're featuring it on our website, and it's definitely a prime piece of real estate right off the interstate, great visibility. So we'll certainly continue to help push that site.
Yeah, and maybe if there could be some coordinating meetings with the administration, and I think there's a real estate guy, Bo Box or somebody like that's involved, and just coordinate with everybody to start pushing that a little bit more. That's a needed area of development, and really without development there, we kind of get complaints every now and again from the surrounding areas. The grass isn't always cut, because it's a corporate entity and they're not from here, they kind of let it go sometimes. But I think that would be a tremendous asset for our city, and ask that you would focus a little bit on that as well. Thank you.
Absolutely, sure.
Thank you, Madam President.
I just wanted to ask about the enterprise zones. Those are particular areas of the city that qualify for these types of incentives to employers?
Well, there are enterprise zones within the city of Kenner, and those are census tracts that have low income, high unemployment. I'm forgetting the other factor that goes into that. But a business does not have to be located in an enterprise zone to take advantage of the program. It just has to either hire someone that lives in an enterprise zone, or it actually could even meet other requirements of the program and still get the benefits of the program. So, for instance, if they hire someone that's used the Louisiana Workforce Commission's job service, and they've used it to advertise their job and hire them through that process, that's one way. If their employee is receiving public assistance, or if they were enrolled in Louisiana Technical College in the past 6 months before they were hired. Those are just a few ways that a business can meet the requirements of the program.
Okay.
So the enterprise zones themselves are just one component of the program.
Okay. So that's interesting, though, that a business doesn't have to be located in an area that, has a population that's below some sort of income line. It's just that they have to employ people that meet certain criteria.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, how do businesses find out about these programs? I mean, I know that y'all, say that you go around and talk to businesses and what have you, but I mean.
Try to reach as many as we can, but of course, they're on our website. They're in the economic profile. They're on LED's website, Louisiana Economic Development. So, but it's mainly through our just trying to get in the door with them to share this information. And that's why we ask for referrals too. If you guys are aware of any companies that are expanding especially, there are incentives out there that may very well apply to their situation.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything that the city sends out when we do occupational license renewals, that perhaps there can be some information included in those mail-outs that would be helpful? Because there's so many businesses that there's hundreds of occupational licenses, correct?
And
Who? Hello.
Hi. That's something certainly we can consider doing when we do our renewals for occupational licenses. It's typically a computer-driven document, but we can include mail-outs, any type of information that they'd like to put in there with those mail-outs for the renewals.
Okay, because I mean, I just feel like people don't take advantage of things because, well, they're so busy growing their business, they don't seek out the information, and so I'm just trying to think of creative ways to put it in front of them.
Right, right. And if they actually go into the department, I mean, we have a stack of them there, but of course, they'd have to physically go there to.
Yeah, I mean, most people are just renewing their license.
Right.
They're not necessarily coming to ask permission to do anything different than they did the year before. And most people are certainly not showing up if they don't have to. They would do it electronically or mail it in. So, yeah, it's tough to figure out how to get some face time. Okay, Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Bordelon, thanks again for coming for the presentation. I wanted to also ask if you could please send me and maybe all of us the enterprise zone locations as they're identified throughout the city.
Okay.
Is that something that we can get to identify where they actually are?
Yeah,
In any documentation that stipulates the requirements as it relates to being part of this, either living in an area or all of that information that you talked about earlier, I like to have that.
Sure, I'll be happy to send that to you. Actually, the New Orleans Regional Planning Commission prepared a map for the whole region of all the 2010 census tracts that are designated as enterprise zones, and you guys adopted those enterprise zones earlier this year, or was it the end of last year? So the map is actually, it will include the entire region, but it's very user-friendly, and you can zoom in, the resolution's great, and you'll be able to see where those zones are in the city of Kenner.
Yeah, either the website or the hard copy, either one, that would be easier for me to get. If you can send that to me, I would
Sure.
appreciate that.
No problem.
And one more thing before you go, this is a pretty good pamphlet, real informative information. And, as Councilman Stagg was talking about that, he happened to bring to my attention, it has accessibility, business-based, and a number of things. The one at the bottom says quality of life. It kind of made me thought about one of our regulars here, God bless his soul, who used to come a number of times all the time to the council meeting. And his main thing was always quality of life. Always, always, always. And we all know who I'm talking about. And this is something I think we offer from the city of Kenner, like Councilman Stagney pointed out. A lot of this information on the quality of life, it goes up and down based on the cycle. But one thing that's consistent with the city of Kenner is our property taxes. Regardless of how things go up and down, we all normally have a lower property tax base than most of the metro area.
You do.
And that is something I think it's good to have it in here. And as often as we get an opportunity to pass this on to people who are looking to move places. So I'm glad that you guys put that in here. It's real informative to have. Thanks you again. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, and you all have a blessed Easter weekend.
And to you.
Yes, ma'am. Item 4B, at the request of the administration, a report regarding the completion of the Paths of Progress program.
Who will be giving that presentation? Good evening. State your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Jeff Burst. My address is 17422 Lauren Drive in Prairieville,
Oh.
Louisiana.
Welcome.
Thank you. Well, Madam President, council members, and Mayor Yanni, I would like to thank you on behalf of the Department of Transportation and Secretary Labar for the opportunity to come to speak to y'all this evening regarding the Paths to Progress program, and specifically regarding the roadways and the completion of those projects here in the city of Kenner. We've prepared a short briefing for y'all with a few facts about the program, how we got started, what it took to get to this completion point, and we have a few photos, a little before and after shots to show some of the improvements. And if you give us 1 minute, we're getting set up here.
Sure.
All right. As I mentioned, my name is Jeff Burst. I'm the Deputy Director of the Project Management Division with the Department of Transportation. I am the Program Manager for the Submerged Roads Program and the Pass the Progress Program. HNTB is also here with me. They are my program management consultants overseeing this project. This started back as a hurricane relief program back in '05 through a congressional appropriation to recover, restore, and rehabilitate a lot of the roadways that were inundated during Hurricane Katrina in the New Orleans and surrounding parishes. It's called the Submerged Roads Program. This is the state's program. It's separate from the Jefferson Parish's Submerged Roads Program. And that was a program of about $120 million to rehabilitate a lot of the roadways that were inundated during the storm, as well as those that were deteriorated at an accelerated rate after the water subsided due to debris hauling, a lot of the recovery efforts, people returning back home. Pass the Progress is a continuation of that program, and with a new investment of about an additional $90 million in 100% federal emergency relief funds that were invested right here for this recovery effort. Here in Kenner, y'all came in phase 2, and we did 11 projects to the tune of 10.5 miles or so for about $11.5 million invested here in the city of Kenner to rehabilitate a lot of the roadways in this area as well. Projects were completed on time, and ahead of schedule in a lot of cases. Construction started for all of the roadways a year ago this month, and I'm pleased to say that they're complete now. How we got there is we began the field survey and the design efforts back in August of 2012, and we let all of the projects to construction in November and December that same year. Then in April of 2013, we had a groundbreaking for all of the projects that were to be constructed here in the city of Kenner. And that began all of the roadways that we would undertake. And how we structured them were in these groups. We would let to contract to one contractor several groups of projects so that we can take advantage of a lot of the efficiencies of his mobilization all in one area. Have them move, where a lot of the roadways scattered throughout the city weren't torn up, closed, road closures, and detours all at the same time. So the first group we have here was, as you see here, these 3 roadways with Williams, West Metairie, and Roosevelt. And that was let in April of 13 and completed later that summer. Then as we moved further along, then we let the second group of projects, Vintage and Loyola, and those were finished later that fall in September. And then we kept moving through until we finished all of the roadways. The next group was Salentini, Chateau, and Joe Yenny Boulevard. And those started again in the summer and completed in the fall of 2013. And then the last group was Loyola 31st and West Esplanade. And again, as you see, those were started in fall of 2013 in September and completed just earlier this month. And that completed all of the projects in 1 year. So it was a very accelerated rate. We got a lot of good construction prices. I got a lot of good construction time by grouping these streets together in one construction letting. So, so we were able to take advantage of that and accelerate this program. I've got a few photos here that I'd like to show y'all and kind of where we started, what a lot of these were. And y'all know this, of what we experienced prior to construction. We have failed concrete in the roadways. You see those concrete roadway panels. You see it around the drainage inlets. Next, we've got patches and potholes, and we got cracks in the pavement, broken curb everywhere. There's some more cracks and deterioration along the roadway. You see we had some ponding problems at a lot of the intersections previously that a lot of these improvements have addressed. Not just a surface ride, but also a lot of these drainage and ponding issues as well. So we moved to, what was it like to, as we moved through the construction effort, And as we moved through, we had a tremendous amount of support from the Department of Public Works here in Kenner, from the Kenner Police, helping us detour and traffic control as we're doing our paving operations, as you see. The next slide is some paving operations along West Esplanade, and this next slide as well, just from a different vantage point. And this is the section from Williams to Power, well, the previous slide. Here, we're looking at Duncan Canal from West Esplanade as we're paving down, as you can see, down the side roads. And then that was through the construction effort. And at times it was painful, you know, to get around and to navigate a lot of these roadways and inconvenient to take the detours. But here we are a year later, and we complete with all of the roadways that were rehabilitated here in the city of Kenner. And these are some post-construction photos of where we stand now. And you know, this one is in Rivertown on Williams Boulevard. You can see the nice completed roadway compared to the first photo I showed you. The next one are some federally required ADA compliant ramps that were installed. A lot of handwork went into these intersections, but in keeping with the historic streetscape here in the historic Rivertown, you know, we melded that and meshed that in with the brick sidewalks and the pavers so that you can see it turned out very nice in that area. Here's the intersection of West Metairie and Roosevelt, finished product, and it turned out really nice. Got just a few more. We got Loyola next, Salentini, Chateau and West Esplanade. That intersection very busy, and now it's completed and it turned out nice. Joe Yenny Boulevard, Loyola Drive. And then the last photo I want to show you is on 31st Street. Now, this is a great example of the city, the Department of Public Works came to us and said, we would like a few betterments. Right now, you're here just to rehabilitate the surface and the ride, but you know, we want some curve improvements. We would like some bus pads added. So we did full reconstruction right here. You can see is a good example of one of the betterments from just a collaborative effort of working together, and we were able to provide that at several locations. Now, that's just a very brief, quick run-through of how we got to where we are now and the completion of the roadways as part of Paths to Progress here in the city of Kenner. Now, we couldn't have gotten to this point without a tremendous collaborative effort from all parties. And it's great teamwork, and from the federal level to the state, locals, dealing with the utility companies, the mayor's office, Department of Public Works. It was actually a tremendous collaborative effort of everybody coming together and working as a team to complete these on and ahead of schedule. And I think that we turned out a very quality product, and we're pleased here to report that to you. I would like to give a special thanks to somebody who's been there from the beginning here, the entire 7 years, developing both of these phases of the program. That's Mr. Walter Brooks right here, Executive Director of the Regional Planning Commission. He's been an invaluable asset to us and to me, my staff, and my program consultant in delivering this project. Mr. Jose Gonzalez here with the Department of Public Works, tireless efforts to help collaborate to move this forward, timely decisions, helping us do what we need in the field to make sure that these get done. The support from Mayor Yenny and just providing us with the resources and the support from his office has been tremendous. And then lastly, I would like to acknowledge General John Basilica with HNTB and his staff that's here today. They're my program management consultant that helped oversee the program, helped assist in design, helped assist with inspection, a lot of the coordination with the different entities, utility companies, the parishes, and everything that needed to come together for this unity and this effort. And with that, I thank you again, and I'm more than willing and happy to answer any questions y'all have about this program.
We do. Councilmember Reyno.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Burst, for coming today. Thank you for giving us this update on the project.
Yes, sir.
I have two questions I need to ask. I know you said that it's completed, On Bahama at West Esplanade, between Williams Boulevard and Powell Boulevard, that section of roadway, at that corner, we have some ponding that's going on there, and I get calls from those residents all the time that the water ponding wasn't there before. So if y'all could check into that, and I know I've talked about this with Mr. Gonzalez, and he said, and I know they're marked, y'all have them marked off where the ponding is, and you have some numbers spray painted.
Yes, sir.
But I just want to make sure that those are addressed. My other question is, on that same roadway between Williams Boulevard and Powell Boulevard, when you're coming from Williams Boulevard going toward Powell, there's a section that the curbing on the canal side has not been elevated. It's everywhere else it's been elevated. You put a bigger curbing there. And I was just curious as to why that wasn't addressed.
Regarding the first comment, I will speak to my inspection staff, and we'll absolutely go look at that with the ponding issue. And if we can determine that there's some remediation measures we can take, we'll get the contractor back out there, and they'll certainly be addressed. Regarding the second, we did extend and raise the curb along the canal side, as you mentioned, for a good portion of the roadway. I will have to investigate the portion that you're talking about that has not been elevated, and we can certainly look at that as well.
Okay, the portion I'm talking about, the existing roadway was blacktop there.
Okay.
It was the only really section between Williams and Powell that had blacktop on it, to my knowledge. So I don't know if because it was blacktop before, maybe that curb wasn't raised or whatever, but it's very noticeable,
Well, I will report back to you on that,
Okay.
on both issues.
Thank you again for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Carroll?
Thank you, Madam President. And Mr. Burris, also, thank you for coming. I'd also like to say that, I think the word that you spoke of was collaboration. And I think this particular project was exactly that word, collaboration. You, all the gentlemen in that front seat that participated, the Public Works Department with Mr. Gonzalez, Community Development with Ms. Terrell, with the neighborhood, with the administration, Mayor Yen, and everyone with the police department. It all came together, and I must say, this is one of those times you like to be first, but I was glad that District 1 was not first this time, because you were able to work out a lot of the kinks. And in the beginning, riding down West Esplanade, there were some angry people, let's put it like that at times. And it was, whenever you want to fix something up, it's going to cause for things you have to do. But by the time you got to District 1 to do it, you had worked out all those traffic situations and everything. And I must say, most of the citizens along 31st Street, there was maybe a couple of calls. Mr. Gonzalez can correct me, but there wasn't maybe one or two calls, and everything seemed to come together. So the working together with everyone involved to be able to identify, to fix something along 31st Street with the bus pads, that, with this gave us an opportunity to address it. Even though the people in the Lincoln Manor subdivision benefited the most, I think, from this, the buses, everyone rides the buses, so everyone from all over the city benefited also. So these are the type of programs, we're just going to have support from different entities to do it, and we look forward to you working with you and the gentleman in the future to ensure that we can progress along for the city of Kenner. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilmember Carroll. Mr. Burst, we have learned that we can hold meetings to talk about very important issues such as flood insurance and projects that are coming up. We can even hold elections, and we've learned that we're only going to get 20% of the people to be interested. But if we put out a stack of orange cones, 80% of the city calls us. So we have
Yes,
learned the
ma'am.
way to get attention is to put out cones, whether or not we have any road projects. So we definitely had an exercise of communication during all of that time. And the funny thing is, we had hosted meetings before. The mayor had meetings all over to talk about the upcoming projects, but, nothing grabs somebody's attention like an orange cone.
Yes, ma'am.
Wish I'd known that when my kids were little. I might have tried that. But I have just a couple questions. I've accepted the term submerged roads because everybody seems to know what that is. What qualifies for a submerged road? Why are they submerged roads that get these attention? What does that mean?
Well, that was the label of the program when we initially started, and a lot of the roadways that qualified for the program did not have to be submerged during the storm. A lot of roads that qualified, for example, were after the waters receded, that were used preliminarily and primarily, rather, as haul roads for debris trucks, and accelerated the deterioration. So submerged roads is maybe a misnomer. That's the only thing that could qualify you for the program. And as you know, as we moved into Phase 2, we thought along the same lines as you and rebranded the program Path to Progress. So as we move forward, we
Okay. So there's a difference between flooded streets and submerged roads. So it's not necessarily they're submerged roads because they flooded in the storm or they need drainage work. It was just a term that was put on this particular project that was a little misleading.
Yes, ma'am.
My next questions probably aren't for you, and I also want to thank all of those people who you thanked. We thank with you because we often get to be the face of things, and we know that there's a million ants out there doing things that we may or may not be aware of. So for all those people that were mentioned, we also extend our thanks to you for all of your work, because we know, look, I got in government because I thought things moved real slow and I didn't really understand, and when I got in government, I kind of understood. So now I've spent the last 18 years explaining to other people why things take so long, and so I do appreciate all of your efforts and your whole team. This may be a question for Mr. Gonzalez. Any road projects that are still going on are tied to something else, perhaps a FEMA project or something else that's happening?
Let me say that there is a difference between the Flooded Streets program and the Submerged Road program, which is now called Path to Progress program. The Path to Progress program only applies to federal aid network routes, not minor streets or subdivision streets, okay? That's a program where we have dealt with the Federal Highway Administration and the State Department of DOTD and the Regional Planning Commission to secure funds for the city of Kenner for primarily major streets. Right. Now, there's another program called Flooded Streets program. That program is through FEMA, okay? And the city is currently working with FEMA to try to get an allocation of funds to repair a number of minor streets, residential streets throughout the city. We have not yet been successful in receiving the allocation that we feel is fair for the city of Kenner, but we continue to work on that. Now, there are a number of other federal aid projects out there that are still in the making. For instance, recently we bid a section of Veterans Boulevard between Loyola and the parish line to the west, or the city line to the west. Okay, that project is probably going to start sometime late summer. That's a project through the Federal Aid Network System, okay, which is through Walter Brooks' office, the Regional Planning Commission. We completed 2 phases of that project on Veterans Boulevard between the airport and Loyola not long ago. That's one project. We also, through the Federal Aid Network System, we also will be doing a number of traffic signal improvements throughout the city. We're going to be doing Chateau Boulevard between Vintage and West Esplanade. We're going to be doing roadway lighting improvements on Veterans Boulevard between the airport and also Loyola. We're going to be doing Aberdeen Street improvements between the airport and Vets. So there's quite a number of projects out there, some of which have been constructed, other ones that will start in hopefully in the near future through the federal aid program, which is ran by the RPC Walter Brooks office.
Okay, so there's some that are going to be coming up based on whatever criteria they qualify for, and we've finished with Path to Progress. So anything that's happening right now on major roadways could still be a FEMA project, like for instance at the end of West Esplanade where they had to lay for the drainage project, there's still roads that are you know,
Okay, the project that's going on right now at the end of West Esplanade is a sewer project on the sewer program.
Sewer program.
Okay,
So it has nothing to do with the drainage project coming off the west return wall at West Esplanade and Vintage?
well, that project is a core project, okay? That's also going on, okay? But what the disturbance that you see at West Esplanade right now by the Wood Lake Playground is mostly associated with the sewer
With sewer.
project. But the Corps still working on that drainage project along the west return flood wall.
When are they going to sod all that? It
I
is
think they're gonna.
a mess.
I think it's probably gonna be another 2 months or so.
It is a mess.
We also have a statewide flood control program that is, is going on right now in Council District 5. The councilman was very instrumental in securing like $3 million for drainage neighborhood improvements. And phase 1 of that project should start by the end of this month.
Okay, so my last question was going to be, and you kind of touched on it, was the traffic study on Chateau Boulevard, and I understand now that you're saying there's several different areas. You said that it's going to happen. When should we anticipate seeing some sort of improvement out there, or have we even gotten a traffic study
Well,
started?
RPC has retained the firm of Urban Systems to do a study of Chateau and West Esplanade, and also Roosevelt and West Metairie.
Okay.
That study is ongoing. That study is expected to be completed by mid-June. Once that study, and it's through the RPC is financing this study on a 100% basis through federal grants. The city has not had to put a local match. Once this study is completed, we're going to advance it to the next stage and secure consultants to finalize plans and bid them through the Federal Aid Network Program, and in which the federal government will pick up 80% of the construction costs, and the city will be required to put up a 20% local match. And what that is going to do is it's going to totally improve with new equipment, state-of-the-art cameras and so on. It's going to improve the intersection of West Esplanade and Chateau and Roosevelt and West Metairie. And at the same time, we're going to progress to work with the RPC in doing some of the other improvements to traffic signals throughout the city.
Yes, because both of those intersections, Roosevelt and West Metairie and Chateau and West Esplanade, while the actual intersection has its challenges, as you change lighting, there are several intersections off of it that if we disregard that it's part of a system and don't really take an effort to engage the system to work properly to move the traffic flow, then you just literally get people to stop at a red light faster than they did when Chateau and West Esplanade wasn't as efficient.
And that's the intent, working with the RPC and the federal government, try to secure federal money to improve all the traffic signal systems throughout the city. But unfortunately, there's not enough federal money to be allocated to the city to do all that work in 1 year or 2 years. It's going to be a multiple-year element for us to be able to do that work.
Well, I do know that young people do say that we have quite a few red light signals, so maybe that's something that we could put in the back of that 2030 plan that's a priority for attracting young families here, that we have a more efficient lighting system throughout the city. And Mayor's only heard that 1 million times from me. Okay, that was it. That's all I had. Mayor Yenny.
Would like to thank HNTV for all their hard work, and of course Jose Gonzalez for making this a priority when he first got on board. But I really have to give a big round of applause to Mr. Walter Brooks. Walter, I don't know what cities, parishes in this region would do without you, so thank you for all your help with the RPC. We certainly appreciate everything you do for us.
Madam Chairman, if I address y'all very briefly. Jose stole my thunder. I was going to tell you about all these new projects. We're already working with you all on a second round of projects. Now, it's not Path to Progress, okay? It's the regular federal aid program. But we have right now about $25 million worth of jobs that we're trying to line up over the next, say, 3 to 4 years maximum. And they include the traffic signals and the lighting on veterans. And I got the whole list, but Jose went through it. The only one you left off, Jose, was the replacing the the bridges over the Duncan Canal in West Esplanade, which are structurally deficient, getting weaker, and so we need to get those done. It's been a great process, path to progress, because you had very experienced and knowledgeable people leading the effort, the whole team, and that's why it went so well. We're going to continue to work with you. Now, on the second round of projects, we'll on the 25 million or so that we're looking at right now, RPC will probably be putting in somewhere between 16 and 18 million towards those jobs. So we're here to help you. As long as Washington keeps passing the highway bill, we will be here to serve you and see that things get done and help expedite the projects. And we enjoy very much working with your administration. Mayor, Jose and I go way back. We've worked together for over 20 years, and we know how to get jobs done, and we know how to move them through the system, and we especially appreciate guys like Jeff Burris at DOTD, who also know how to expedite projects, and of course, top flight consultants like HNTB, who have a very, very strong team of professional people working for them. So thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
Glad to help.
Thank you very much. Councilmember DeNapolis.
And I just want to also give my kudos to Mr. Walter Brooks, because when I first became councilman in District 5, we had such a deficiency in moving traffic right at Loyola and I-10, and Walter came up with going from 3 lanes to 5 lanes, and it really has improved, exiting, out of District 5 into what we call 1A, which is, we kind of deemed that area 1A, District 1A, but, and Walter, you were very, very instrumental in getting that $1 million, because it makes it a breeze going westbound to Baton Rouge and a breeze going eastbound on I-10 now. And thank you very much for your interest in Kenner, and continue to put your interest in Kenner. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion,
Yes, ma'am. Item 5 is acceptance and rejection of bids requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. Item 5A is a resolution accepting the responsive bid received from Gold Rush Signs Incorporated in the amount of $3,105 to fabricate and install sign for South Lake Villages subdivision in accordance with letter bid number 14-1514 for the Department of Public Works. Item 6 is change orders requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. We have none. Item 7 is acceptance of committee findings for final passage. We have none. Item 8 is re-subdivision ordinances for final passage. We have none.
motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Brannigan for approval. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Under the public appearance agenda this evening, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,672, an ordinance approving the lease of a certain portion of ground fronting on Veterans Boulevard and measuring 195 feet by 44 feet 7 inches adjacent to Lot B, Square 329/330, Highway Park Subdivision, Kenner Jefferson Parish, Louisiana.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Brannigan to open public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0.
We're now in a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,672. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council? We have a presentation.
Yes,
Mary
ma'am.
Bear.
Thank you, Council President. The portion of public right-of-way consists of 8,717 square feet and measures 195 feet in length by 44.7 feet in width. The right-of-way fronts the south side of Veterans Memorial Boulevard, bounded by Indiana Avenue to the east and Idaho Avenue to the west. It's located adjacent to Lot B in Council District 2. The right-of-way is currently improved with an asphalt surface, which was used as part of the off-street parking area for the previous business that was located on Lot B. The right-of-way is located along a portion of the Veterans Memorial Boulevard corridor, Zone C2, General Commercial. Now, ordinance number 10,599, adopted by the City Council on June 6, 2013, authorizes the mayor to enter into lease agreements for the use of portions of the Veterans Memorial Boulevard right-of-way with adjacent property owners. The owner of Lot B is leasing the use of the lot to Best Chevrolet as a used car dealership. And in compliance with ordinance 10,599, the applicant is in turn requesting the leasing of the adjacent right-of-way in order to accommodate the site requirements of the used car dealership. It's been determined that utilities are located within the right-of-way. However, letters of no objection to the lease of the right-of-way have been received from all utility companies, provided that they retain their right to access and repair these facilities if needed. The city obtained the appraisal services of Gale Budisque and Associates to establish the fair rental value for both the north and south sides of the unused portions of the Veterans Memorial Boulevard right-of-way, extending from the Kenner Jefferson Parish corporate limit westward to Williams Boulevard. The appraisal of the right-of-way dated December 10th, 2013, places the annual fair market rent value of the property at $1.73 per square foot. Based on the rental value and the total area of the adjacent right-of-way, the annual fair market rent value is placed at $15,079. The Planning Commission and the Planning Department both recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Hebert. Is there anyone else? I'm going to close public hearing. Okay, well, we'll close public hearing. Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Brannigan to close public hearing. Council members, please vote. One more vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Councilmember DeFrances has now joined the meeting.
Thank you. Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. This is part of Veterans Boulevard-wide project where we're trying to lease right-of-ways, direct that money back to beautification on Veterans Boulevard. Mr. Hebert, as part of this agreement, can they have anything but off-street parking in that right-of-way?
It'll serve to satisfy off-street parking and also fulfill their landscaping requirements that are required on
So
the lot.
landscaping and off-street parking
Yes, sir.
cannot be used to display the vehicles that are for sale?
That's correct, and that's stated in one of the sections of the proposed ordinance.
Okay. I want to make sure the applicant knows that. If they do not abide by that, who's the enforcing department? Is it code or is it the police department?
It's going to be code enforcement, Mr. Stagney, and they've been informed that if they're in violation of that, I will remove their occupational license.
Wonderful, wonderful. The other concern that I had was that they put a fence halfway through the property where it appears to me where they may be storing vehicles for another facility. And really, I believe that they can only have vehicles for sale at that site specific.
I will have my inspectors making sure that the inventory that's kept there is used vehicles and not that of new vehicles.
Okay, great. Mr. Mayor, the money that, through the lease agreement you're going to sign, is that dedicated to the beautification on veterans? Great,
Yes,
Okay.
yes, Councilman. Yeah.
great, great. Thank you, Madam President. I'd ask for your support.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Councilmember Denopolis is abstaining, and Councilmember Black is absent. Item 9B is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,673, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2427, the City of Kenner Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, adopted on December 4th, 1978 by rezoning Lot 21, Square 5, Hanson City Subdivision, Kenner Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, from C1PO Neighborhood Commercial Planned Option to R2 Two-Family Residential, and approving the plan of re-subdivision of lots 21 and 22, Square 5, Hanson City Subdivision, Kenner Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, into Lot 21A.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Brannigan to open public hearing. Council members, please vote. One more vote, please.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
We're now in a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,673. Mr. Aber, you have a presentation?
Yes, ma'am. Lots 21 and 22 front Hanson Place and are currently undeveloped. The lots are generally bounded by 3rd Street to the north, 2nd Street to the south, Farrar Avenue to the east, located in Council District 1. The lots in the area that are located within approximately 120 feet of the 3rd Street right-of-way are zoned C1PO, Neighborhood Commercial Planned Option. The lots that are located beyond the first 120 feet of the Third Street right-of-way are zoned R2, two-family residential. The surrounding area primarily consists of detached, single-family residential uses. There are several two-family residential uses in the immediate area along Farrar Avenue. There's also an industrial use located east of Farrar. Existing Lot 21 is currently zoned C1 PO, while existing Lot 22 is zoned R2, two-family residential. Now, the intent of the proposed rezoning of Lot 21 from C1 PO to R2 is to accommodate the future development of proposed Lot 21A for a type of use that's permitted in the R2 district. The rezoning of existing Lot 21 would provide a uniform zoning designation for new Lot 21A. Failure to rezone Lot 21 would result in new Lot 21A being split zoned. With regards to the re-subdivision, the purpose of the re-subdivision is to accommodate a lot size that's large enough for development for a use permitted in the R2 district. Now, both existing lots 21 and 22 each consist of 2,500 square feet, and they each measure 25 by 100 feet. Proposed Lot 21A will consist of 5,000 square feet and measure 50 feet by 100 feet. Now, while proposed Lot 21A meets the minimum lot width and lot length of the R2 district, it falls below the minimum lot size of 6,000 square feet. Now, it is important to note that the site is located in Hanson City subdivision, which is considered to be one of the earliest settled neighborhoods in Kenner. Most of the existing lots of record are still in their original form and consist of lot widths ranging from 20 to 25 feet. Without the re-subdivision, lots 21 and 22, the property owner would be relegated to having to build over existing lot lines. Now, it's also been determined that no utilities are located on the lots. Letters of no objection to the re-subdivision have been received from the utility companies, including Jefferson Parish Engineering Department and Veolia Water. Based on review of the application, the Planning Commission and the Planning Department both recommend approval.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hebert. Is there anyone else from the audience wishing to address the council? Motion to close public hearing by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Brannigan and Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. And Mr. Hebert, I'd like to thank you again for your support on this. But I'm glad you brought out the information about the historic area of Kenner, the very beginning. This area is probably one of the oldest areas it has in city, within the city of Kenner. And, you know, back then, obviously, the lot sizes were smaller. This was a concern. I actually met with the residents out there along with the property owner who purchased the property, because a lot of the homes now are built on the 30-foot front, and if you ride down that street, parking is a concern for people parking in the street, and just it seems cluttered. Some of their concerns was about the parking. The property owner met out there, and you know, we were able to address some of their concerns, because there were some rumors or whatever saying that it was going to be a structure of a dupe fourplex or much larger than what it can turn into. Can you address exactly what are the what can he put there and what he cannot put there?
Sure. The highest intense residential use that they can build in the R2 district would be a duplex, a dwelling that accommodates two family units side by side. They can also build a single-family residential unit as well.
Right, and we talked about that. It hasn't been determined yet which will it be, a single or a double, but even if it is deemed to be a double, there are still the inspections and the code regulations that he's going to have to meet even to meet that, which will include parking for both, adequate parking, to ensure that the front and the sides are all meeting this area, to ensure that, you know, even though it seems it's a problem with parking on the street, we're not going to add to the problem. And we look forward to your department ensuring that we won't get into a situation where it will cause additional safety concerns for the children that live on that street. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Madam President.
Mr. Hebert, you may have said, and I'm sorry if I was distracted, the minimum width of a lot to build a single family is How many feet?
50 feet
50.
in the R2
And
district.
on a double, it's,
In the R2 district, the minimum lot size is 50 by 100. They meet that. They just don't meet the total area needed, which is 6,000.
I see, okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right, seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 9C is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,674. An ordinance authorizing a public hearing and approving amendment number 2 to the fiscal year 2007 Home Investment Partnership Grant allocation from the Jefferson Parish Home Consortium to the City of Kenner for the Department of Community Development.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember DeFrancis. To open public hearing, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
We're now in a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,674. Any presentations? Anybody from the audience wishing to address? Oh, Ms. Terrell.
Thank you. This amendment is basically to correct the previous amount we had reported and was adopted by the council, I think back in 2007, if I'm correct. But it basically corrects the amount of our home allocation that was awarded back then. In lieu of $236,890, we actually received $250,890 dollars. And we're proposing the amendment tonight to move some money from an affordable housing development pool activity to our very popular and in heavy demand first-time home buyers assistance program. So basically, we're putting the money where it's needed and where it's currently being spent. So I ask your approval. Thank you.
Okay, there'll probably be some questions, but we're going to close public hearing. If there's anyone else from the audience wishing to address the council, please come forward at this time. If not, there's a motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember DeFrancis to close public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember DeFrancis. Councilmember Carroll, did you wish to speak? You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Terrell, would you mind please coming up for just a couple more minutes? And I don't want to get into too much details because we're going to eventually have to talk about the proposed FY20 plan for the CDBG, which will involve this particular first-time affordable home buyers, correct?
Right.
But if you can just give us a little information about the upcoming year, about if you have the total amount of dollars, and also give your contact information for people who want to get the specifics about the criteria that they will have to meet. I think that would be important. If we say that over and over, I think we never can say it enough.
Thank
So if you would, please.
Right. Okay, well, the First-Time Home Buyers Assistance Program is, of course, funded through HUD. Right now, the city has $800,000 that's available to award to first-time home buyers. Again, previously, the council passed legislation that put in place a ceiling amount of $35,000 per purchase of a new home to be used to assist a person with what we refer to as mortgage buy-downs. The good news I have for you tonight is that last year, the maximum amount of the purchase price that a person could acquire a home was set at $155,000. We were just informed just last week that persons can now purchase homes up to $165,000, which basically puts more housing stock in the available for persons to buy. So that's a big plus for the program. It's offered through our department. Our office is at 624 Williams Boulevard here in Rivertown, and the number is 468-7588. They can call, speak to me, speak to Michelle Foster, who administers the program, and we'll be more than happy to assist them. Of course, one of the requirements has always been attending a first-time home buyers training class, which basically prepares you to purchase that home and to do so by making an informed decision, because it educates you on the home buying process.
All right.
So
And as far as the schedule, the first opportunity to apply for it and the deadline to apply for it, what is that?
It's, right now, we don't have a deadline. It's an ongoing program. That's a good question. It's on a first-come, first-served basis. I know some of our other programs, you get money and you get out of them, you're out of money so quick because you service persons with it. But right now, it's on a first-come, first-served basis, and so it'll be open until all funds have been exhausted.
Well, thank you. And if
Thank you.
when between you and your staff, and you'll always provide the information, I like to get some of those specifics. Once you realize what they are, once you determine the start period and anything that involves, because people stop me in the street sometime and
Right.
not real helpful.
Right.
I like to get that, something I can have physically to
Yeah,
keep with me.
I know I think the main question and concern, especially some of the constituents that you and I have talked about, has basically been fulfilling that requirement of taking that training class first. It's like, they hear about, oh, this money is available, and they just want to go buy a home and get it right now. And that's that lead time, with the starting and the finish that unfortunately they have to go through. The classes are held at different times in different locations, and we have a schedule of that available
Okay.
for citizens.
And I'd like to get all that information, if I
Okay.
could, from your office. And this is just not for people who live in District 1. Say it again, please. It is for everyone that lives in the city of Kenner that
It's a-
qualifies.
Exactly. It's a citywide program. Eligibility is not based on where you live. It's based on your household income and the house that you're attempting to buy or interested in buying. And we do have, in concert with our Fair Housing Month, we do have some information on the table for those that's in the viewing audience, and we'd be more than happy to mail information out to anybody that may be interested in.
Hey, thank you very much. Thanks for the
Well-
information. And I'm sure between now and then, we'll be talking a lot
Okay.
to pass that on. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilmember Carroll. And, the certificate that they receive is good for like 2 years, isn't that correct?
2 years, exactly.
So, the most important thing for them to do is to first take the class, and then I'm not just saying this because I'm a real estate agent, but to engage with an agent who is familiar with the
forgot 'em.
process.
That's right.
So I could have been helpful to those people that you couldn't answer the question. No, but the reason is because you have to have an accepted contract on a house.
That's correct.
You have to have your certificate, and then you have to have an accepted contract
A
on a
purchase
house.
offer, that's
Bring
right.
those things to the department to
That's
get
correct.
the money set aside for you. So, it's good that they attend the class, and it's good that it lasts for
It's
2 years.
very
But
helpful.
there's a lot of stars have to align for this, for them to qualify for this
Yes.
program beyond just their income and the number of people in their household and all of those things.
Absolutely.
And then, the department's very diligent about doing inspections on these homes so that these people are buying homes that are,
Move-in ready.
move-in ready, reasonably safe in all aspects that can be inspected without an invasive inspection. And the money that they get is put on the house as kind of like a soft second. It is a
That's
soft second.
Yes.
So that, people aren't just buying it and then selling it and recouping this money. They have to live in there for a period of 10 years, I believe.
correct.
And there's a recap if they would sell it
Recapture clause,
within
yes.
a certain time, because we're not going to keep them prisoner there. If they sell it, they just have to, part of the proceeds go to pay back the monies. But this is to get people to move into whatever area the money's being allocated to and to stay here. I mean, it's not for flips. It's for people who are committed to wanting to buy a home, put a roof over their head. And I've participated a couple times, and it's gone extremely smoothly. It's unbelievable. And I just went to a luncheon, just as a side note, on Wednesday. Jefferson Parish has the Jefferson Parish Finance Authority, which if you finance through the Finance Authority, you get 4% towards your down payment or closing costs, and it can be used in conjunction with this. So if you get $35,000 to put as a down payment, and then get 4% towards your closing costs, that is huge, because that's not a grant, it's a program. So those two things alone are unbelievable. And
Big
it's
help.
good that we raised the amount on the housing, or they did, whoever did it, because prices are starting to go up. I mean, it's been steady for a while, but we're definitely seeing a shortage of inventory, which starts to hike prices up. So It's a great program, and I can't say enough about how your office has administered it, because I've been
Thank
through
you.
it with some clients.
We've
so.
made quite a few families' dreams come true.
It's
It's a
amazing.
good feeling.
Really, I mean, it sounds like a lot of money, and it is, and it's not too good to be true. It is true. So, okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember DeFrancis.
Thank you, Council President Brannigan. First of all, I want to thank you, Ms. Terrell, for not only the hard work you do, but the information you provide to the people, because this program, as Councilwoman Brannigan pointed out, has obligations and commitments involved with it as well. You know, a lot of times we want to own a home, but we don't realize what kind of commitment we have to make and the obligation that we assume in buying that home. So again, it's not fair to people unless they have all the facts, and that's exactly what we're providing to them, and I think that's wonderful. And sometimes they don't even know the additional costs, you know, if they've never owned a home that come with ownership. So again, thank you for your work, for your hard work. And Councilwoman Brannigan, I'm so glad you pointed out many of those bits of information that maybe people were not aware that they needed to know and follow. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, we have some amendments. So the first amendment will allow,
Let me clear the machine real quick.
isn't that true? We have amendments?
Yes, ma'am, we sure do. We have an amendment at the request of the Community Development Department. We'll do them in globo if that's okay. The second, whereas the amount will reflect $236,890. There'll be an additional third whereas inserted that reads, whereas the 2007 home grant allocation was $250,890. And under the first-time homebuyers assistance section, the first amount would read $50,000. The second amount would be $184,477 increase, and the third amount would be $234,477. Under the total home grant allocation, project funding amount would be $234,477. The 25% local match requirement would be zero, waived. The next total amount would be $234,477. Administrative funds would be $16,413, and the total 2007 home allocation would be $250,890.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember DeFrancis on those amendments. Council members, please vote.
1 second. Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0 to amend.
And now, as amended, the legislation, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. We have none. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution affirming that it is the policy of the City of Kenner to provide within constitutional limitation for fair housing throughout the city and officially acknowledge April as Fair Housing Month for the Department of Community Development.
Motion by Councilmember Brannigan, second by Councilmember Reyno. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 13B is a resolution amending Resolution Number B 16474, which concerned the approval of change order number 2 and the acceptance of the contract with Southern Construction of Metairie LLC as complete by inserting Section 5 in order to clarify and confirm approval of said change order.
Motion by Councilmember, is it Carroll, second by Councilmember Stagney. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 13C is a resolution ordering and calling a special election to be held in the City of Kenner, State of Louisiana, with respect to proposed amendments by adding a new Section 2.27.01 to the Kenner Home Rule Charter and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Madam Chairman, we've received a request this evening for a one-meeting deferral.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember DeFrancis for a one-meeting deferral. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 13D is a resolution ordering and calling a special election to be held in the City of Kenner, State of Louisiana, with respect to proposed amendments to Section 6.12 of the Kenner Home Rule Charter and providing for other matters in connection therewith. We've also received a one-meeting deferral request.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember DeNapolis on a one-meeting deferral. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 13E is a resolution ordering and calling a special election to be held in the city of Kenner, state of Louisiana, with respect to proposed amendments by adding section 6.17 and repealing sections 3.04, 2.06, and 5.04 of the Kenner Home Rule Charter and providing for other matters in connection therewith. We've also received a request for one meeting deferral.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Stagney. On deferral. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 13F is a resolution ordering and calling a special election to be held in the city of Kenner, state of Louisiana, with respect to proposed amendments to section 2.31 of the Kenner Home Rule Charter and providing for other matters in connection therewith. We've also received a request for a one meeting deferral.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Carroll. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 13G is a resolution ordering and calling a special election to be held in the city of Kenner, state of Louisiana, with respect to proposed amendments by repealing section 3.05 and 3.07 and substituting section 3.05 of the Kenner Home Rule Charter and providing for other matters in connection therewith. We've also received a one meeting request to defer.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Brannigan for a one meeting deferral. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 13H is a resolution ordering and calling a special election to be held in the city of Kenner, state of Louisiana, with respect to proposed amendments to section 2.13F of the Kenner Home Rule Charter and providing for other matters in connection therewith. We've also received a request for a one meeting deferral, please.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember DeFrancis for one meeting deferral. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 13I is a resolution approving the application of the City of Kenner for the Federal Highway Administration Recreational Trails Grant Program by bicycle shelters, bicycle pumps, workstations, and exercise equipment to be located in Lake Town and at LaSalle's Landing in Rivertown.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Carroll. Councilmember Reyno.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Hebert, can you give us a little outline on exactly what this is?
Sure. The resolution is part of the application packet that we're about to apply for through this program. It's administered by the Department of Cultural, Recreation, and Tourism by way of the U.S. Department of Transportation. Funding is provided for the maintenance of recreational trails and recreational trail facilities. And through this program, we're hoping to get funding that would cover the cost for bicycle shelters, bicycle racks, and bicycle workstations. And in addition to that, also exercise equipment and facilities that you would see very similar to what's out there at Lafayette Park.
And the exercise equipment, part of this is a 20% match on here, but we're going to use the fitness recreational equipment as part of that match? Is that what I...
Yes, I think we're asking for funding of approximately $70,000. We'd have to pay $14,000 out of pocket, but that would go towards the...
And both of these projects, well, I'll talk about mine. The one for Lake Town is in Lake Town, and we can use Lake Town funds from the hotel motel tax to pay for this.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Councilman Reyno, for most of the information you talked about. I'm not going to go over it again to be redundant. Just the fact that, Rivertown, Lake Town are our two bookends. I think each year we get into this trying to improve it is going to improve overall. This is just one of the steps that will be important for both of the areas. As far as the equipment and the bicycle, Mr. Hebert, will they mimic one another, or will one be sort of different than the other, or what exactly?
I think they'll be equal. I don't think that they'll be different in design and what's actually placed out there as far as apparatus goes. And like you said, it's our two focal points. The purpose is to provide assistance to the bikers that take those trails along the lake and along the river, but also we'd like for them to stop and take their time and shop and eat and drink as well.
Yeah, because summertime is coming in, and you will be surprised the number of people that ride the levee with their bicycles. I mean, It's amazing people who ride the bike, who just stop out there sometime, stop their bike and sit down on a bench and enjoy the ambiance of the area. So we look forward to that. As far as the matching, Mr. Hebert, how is that? Did you talk
It's
about?
an 80-20 match, and we're asking for approximately $70,000 in funding, and we'd have to put up the 20%, which is roughly $14,000, I believe.
Yes, and both of them will be able to use the hotel motel for both ends, right, correctly, for
My
each one.
understanding.
And I think Councilman Moreno had also mentioned, as far as it relates to possible equipment to be able to use towards the match also, whatever we will
That's
purchase.
correct. Exercise equipment for people to go out there and do a little exercising, similar to what's out there at Lafreniere.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Councilmember Stagney?
Thank you, Madam President. The Recreational Trails Grant, this is not the first time we're hoping to get it. We've gotten it at Veterans Park. We've gotten it at the Kenner City Park. And a big thank you to the Lieutenant Governor's office that administers this. They do a great job, and I think we were alerted by the Lieutenant Governor's office that there was just one deficiency in the application process. So this will work well for our city. We're trying to become younger, more pedestrian-friendly, more bicycle-friendly, and also like to thank both Representatives Julie Stokes and Tom Wilmot for their efforts in writing support letters on behalf of both of these projects. So thank you, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 13J is a resolution approving the applications of CBS Outdoor LLC to upgrade 3 existing general advertising signs located at lots 13 and 36, square 326, Highway Park subdivision, lot C, square 149, Highway Park subdivision, and lots 33 and 34, square 417, Highway Park subdivision.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Reyno. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. These are 3 existing billboards to be upgraded with digital billboards. They will not be any bigger. In fact, they will be a little bit smaller in size. And they have the ability to do Amber Alerts, assist law enforcement. They are connected through computer, so when those alerts go out, they automatically go on the boards. They have helped law enforcement in several communities. They're not the flashing signs that you see low to the roadway. These are static digital signs that change very smoothly after 8 seconds. There's not going to be any streaming video. There will not be any excessive brightness. They have extensive regulation and self-regulation in this industry. So you've seen in numerous cities throughout the country where they've upgraded these Neanderthal-looking billboards that have the catwalks on them and the lights, and sometimes they stay up there for years. They look terrible. We're modernizing this. I think it's in cooperation and looking in the future of what we're doing with our city as far as modernizing our city. So I think this is a nice upgrade, a technological upgrade, and I received one phone call today. The only person that's talked against it, I don't think all the facts, that he had all the facts. These are not new billboards. These are billboards facing commercial entities. They're not facing any residential properties. And I don't see any problem with this. Apparently, we have a provision in the code that normally they would just go to the city and get a permit, but we have some provision, Mr. Grunts, that asks them to bring it before the council. Is that correct?
There was an existing conflict that still has to be resolved because that most that we can do, we just come to the council, get the council approval.
Yeah, we have two different sections of our ordinances that say, it's allowed, but one says you can just go get the permit from the administration. The other one says you should have some council approval on it. So we took the safer route, brought it before the council, and I'm going to ask for your approval. It does nothing but upgrade existing billboards. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilmember Stagney. Councilmember Reyno.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Councilman Stagney. You pretty much covered everything that I wanted to cover, except this 2 issues that I just want to make a point on. The first one is by upgrading this sign, we're going to be spending all kind of money on corridor redevelopment and, you know, trying to make the city better. So, you know, this gives a better appeal on the sign. And the second thing is that I actually did a poll in my district, and 69% of the people were in favor of the digital sign over the existing sign. 31% were against, and the sign that's in my district, in District 3, you know, is there. It's not going to come down. I mean, it's grandfathered in, so, you know, they understood that it would either stay like it is or be modernized, so. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. And it was good to have Councilman Stagg and Reno go over this information, because even though this particular item was not part of District 1, it is something that has a far-fetching, could affect every district in the city. There have been some conversations in District 1 over the past 2 or 3 years addressing billboards or signs that I did not support because not being comfortable with exactly what's going to be on the billboards. I think, Ms. Vallow, just to be sure, your department will be the department to, I know they have Councilman Stagg and City regulate themselves, but it's always good that we have somebody in place just to make sure that if it does get crazy, I guess, or array, that we will be monitoring this to make sure that it doesn't cause a nuisance to the neighborhood or residents. And how close are the residents to this sign, if there are any, that will be here?
I believe that Mr. Hebert was able to show on a map the buffer zone, and the only one where it would potentially affect a residential area was in Councilman Reno's, but it's not facing the residential area. In the event that we do get complaints, I'd certainly let the council members know and contact the billboard company itself.
Okay. And Mr. Grunch, you did mention the fact that, you know, there is an opinion that possibly, or two different opinions about what can be done as far as it relates to going to the council, and maybe it doesn't. Where are we with that? I mean, will this change if something happens where it would have to come back to us to rule on it again, or are we past that?
No, I think there will be an ordinance coming back to the council to resolve the conflict that exists in the Code of Ordinances between the two sections. That's going to have to be done. Now,
And with that ordinance, it will stipulate that it will always have to come towards the council
yes,
for
I
approval.
believe that will be in there.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, Councilmember DeFrancis.
Thank you, Council President. I have a few questions. First of all, I was led to believe that Councilman Stagney would not prefer to defer it, so I'm going to ask some questions to try to clarify the matter a little bit more. And Councilman Reno was nice enough to share his poll with me that the majority of his constituents that he polled were in favor of it. But Mr. Aber, you and I have had numerous conversations on this issue, so if you don't mind, maybe you and I could go over a couple of issues. You know that there were 2 instances in my district, and when I say my district, it's not Maria's district, it is the people of District 4, obviously, we're talking about. And they had some qualms about digital signs. One was very early on involving Walgreens, and then there was one on Vintage that we talked about, and we had numerous meetings concerning that. And even when we finally were able to convince some of the constituents it might not be such a bad idea, we had so many restrictions as to how the amount of illumination, the coloring, and everything else. So you and I have had that conversation numerous times. And there are some signs that you and I have discussed that I personally feel, and the people of District 4 feel, are actually almost an eyesore, more than an eyesore, but a distraction when you're driving. And that's certainly always a major concern. Not long ago, when I had to drive to Baton Rouge, there's an enormous sign there that totally draws your attention away because of the bright colors, and it can easily cause an accident. I mean, I was distracted when I was driving. But then there was another instance in Councilman Reno's district with Raymond's Jewelers, where we were able to work together with the councilman from that district and come up with a sign that was not a distraction to, for motorists, and at the same time was able to meet the needs of that particular entity. So my question to you deals with the type of signage we're talking about, the kind of restrictions we have, the amount of illumination we have, the kind of, coloring we're talking about? What kind of restrictions do we have on it? Because unfortunately, I wasn't able to have a meeting with you privately to talk about these things.
Well, in terms of billboards, we do have regulations for newly constructed billboards, and of course, they do require council approval and planning commission review. With regards to electronic billboards, we don't really have anything in place. Let me just say, though, that we are rewriting our new CZO at this time, and we will address electronic LED screen billboards and general advertising signs as well. The one that's on the Walgreens, I don't believe that actually qualified as a billboard, but it certainly was an electronic sign. And you can approach the business owners and to ensure that the illumination, the brightness, the transition periods will not negatively impact the area, especially if there's residences nearby.
So my question is, basically you answered it to a great extent, is that right now our regulations are not definitive.
That's correct.
And that's one of the things you and I talked about at length, about trying to get something in writing and pass before the council that would, really address this problem. And we haven't done it yet, and I certainly would love to be involved with that as well. Sure. And I think a lot of other council people would like to do so as well, and maybe work with you to make sure we have a definitive, ordinance that addresses this very issue. I don't want to go against the councilman from, in his district. If people are in favor of it, certainly I don't think I have a right to tell them they can't do it, but I do have some real qualms because of the way the people in my district felt about it. So for that reason, I'm going to abstain, because I would think it would be hypocritical to vote for it. And at the same time, I think it's unfair to vote against it when the people in that district and District 3 seem to be in favor of it. But if we could please start working on that, so that when the next time it comes before this council, we won't have this worry about, can we really regulate it, since, again, we know we have no real regulations at this time.
Right. We're addressing it with our new CZO, but if this council feels that this is of immediate need, I mean, certainly we can perhaps maybe amend our current CZO with the regulations that we're proposing with the new one.
I will talk to some of the other council members and see how they feel as well. But thank you so much for the information.
Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually met with the representative with CBS, and the only question that I had, and Amy, maybe you can help me with this, maybe administration can help me. CBS outdoor advertising, obviously this is advertising that's being sold in Kenner. I mean, it's outreaching to Kenner residences and businesses and all. And I'm wondering, how are they processing that sale? Are they processing that sale to their home office? Or are we actually getting paid sales taxes on that advertising here locally? It's a big question that I have, and he couldn't answer it, and he was supposed to get me some information back from corporate on that. But those digital signs might produce $20,000, $30,000 a month in income, and obviously it's taxable. It's advertising. It's taxable, and is Kenner getting its share of that tax? And that's a question that I proposed to the gentleman. And I'd like to have some backup on this, because I'm going to vote for this. But I think that this is the kind of things that we need to look at to derive more revenue from the cities, is that kind of advertising being, processed and sold out of Michigan, yet it's being sold and dispersed here in Kenner. So those are the things that we really need to look at, and they're supposed to get me information. I don't have that information, but I do want to ask you if you can look at on your end to see if we are getting sales taxes from that advertising.
I will certainly do some research with regard to that and contact Mr. Orlando to find out. I suppose that you spoke with
Yeah.
Mr. Orlando with regard
Yeah.
to that, and I'll follow up with it as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. You're done. Okay, Councilmember Stagney? Wait, did you open on that? Yeah, so you're going to close.
Madam President,
Okay, so go ahead, Mr. Brown.
Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane, Kenner. I wanted to follow up on something that Maria DeFrancis said regarding deferring this. This appeared on the supplemental agenda. The public has no idea this is coming up. Now that we only get the Times-Picayune 3 times a week, There was a paper yesterday. There won't be another paper till Friday. I knew about the one being proposed on West Esplanade in Keith Reno's district, but I had no idea there were going to be 3 signs instead of just 1 sign. And since this appears to be at least somewhat controversial among the residents, I would like the council to at least consider a 1-meeting deferral so that the residents can weigh in on this, because they simply do not know this is taking place.
Thank you. Okay, to close, Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to be clear, the sign that Councilwoman DeFrances was describing is called an electronic sign and has varying intensity levels. Those are usually the signs that are lower to the ground, red blinking lights, white blinking lights. This is a digital LED billboard with a sensing unit on it that only has the light just above the ambient light around it. Additionally, it does not have any streaming video on it at all. It has no flashing lights, and I don't know, the brightness will not exceed 3-foot candles above the nighttime ambient illumination. I don't really know what that means other than all the modern cities that I checked on, they use these type of signs. One of the most important aspects that entices me to move forward on this is that they've apprehended 45, 50 child abductors. There's a little letter from the FBI talking about what a great asset these types of billboards are to apprehending child abductors. And when you have a national disaster, you can post up there too. When I championed a billboard on the airport service road on a PUD, one of the requirements that I made as part of the PUD was that they had to post those Amber Alerts and any messages during disasters. This is a simple upgrade to an existing billboard, and the only question before us is whether you want to keep a billboard that is decaying and out there right now, let it simply continue to decay, and have a static billboard that can't provide those services to law enforcement, or do you want a nicer, modern billboard that doesn't obstruct any more than the current one there? So I would ask for your support. I think it's a tremendous upgrade, and I know in the area that I represent, those people I've talked to are for it. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, we are closed, so council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-2. Councilmember DeFrances is abstaining and Councilmember Black is absent. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda.
We have none.
Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 11,675, an ordinance approving the purchase of a 50-year license for the film Dream to Fly in the amount of $5,015 from Loch Ness Productions for the Kenner Planetarium and Megadome Cinema.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember DeFrancis. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 11,676, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Advanced Quality Construction Incorporated in the amount of $750,372.20 for improvements to existing Chateau Palmer wastewater lift station 4304 in accordance with seal bid number 14-6196 for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember DeFrancis, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 11,677, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Signal Equipment Company South for the purchase of traffic signal parts on an as-needed basis in accordance with seal bid number 14-6200 in an amount not to exceed $25,000 per year for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember DeFrancis, second by Councilmember Reyno. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15D is summary ordinance number 11,678, an ordinance accepting the response bid received from Economical Janitorial and Paper Supplies LLC for a 6-month contract with supply copy paper for various City of Kenner departments as per telephone bid number T14-2148, and an amount not to exceed $10,000.
Motion by Councilmember DeNapolis, second by Councilmember DeFrancis. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15E is summary ordinance number 11,679, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of two 2014 Ford Expeditions from Lamarck Ford utilizing Jefferson Parish Contract 55-0001370 in an amount of $76,728 for the Kenner Police Department.
Motion by Councilmember DeFrancis, second by Councilmember Stagney. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. Chief, I was just going to ask you, two Ford Explorers, what were you going to use them for?
That's actually.
I'm sorry, Expedition.
Expeditions. That's actually for the incoming chief and deputy chief. I was going to give them mine, but it's 8 years old.
I was going to say,
There's
did you
100
rag out that vehicle so bad that you couldn't pass it on?
Well, it's got 150,000 miles and it's 8 years old, but yeah.
Okay.
So that's who it's for, and by doing this now, they should be in right around the time he takes office.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Councilmember DeNapolis is abstaining. Item 15F is summary ordinance number 11,680, an ordinance authorizing the utilization of state contract number 409096 for the purchase and installation of cubicle workstations at the Kenner-owned facility located at 1801 Williams Boulevard from Associated Office Systems in the amount of $16,637.02 for the Inspection and Code Enforcement Department.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15G is summary ordinance number 11,681, an ordinance authorizing the utilization of Jefferson Parish Contract number 55-13945 with BLD Services LLC for preventive maintenance of existing sanitary and storm sewers, including service laterals at various locations in the city of Kenner on an as-needed basis and an amount not to exceed $2 million annually for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember DeNapolis, second by Councilmember DeFrancis. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15H is summary ordinance number 11,684, an ordinance ratifying and approving the utilization of Jefferson Parish Contract number 55-000144086 with Bow Brothers Construction Company LLC for the repairs to the West Esplanade Avenue Bridge over the Duncan Canal in an amount not to exceed $40,000 for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember DeFrancis, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15I is a resolution accepting as complete the contract with Bow Brothers Construction Company LLC regarding the Williams Boulevard boat launch repairs.
Motion by Councilmember Rayno. Second by Councilmember Brannigan. Councilmember Rayno.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Maricoli, we had some issues after they were finished where there some unevenness in there, and Bow Brothers came back with some divers. Can you tell us a little bit more about what they found?
Yeah, basically what they did was when they were putting in the new ramp, they put some material, almost like a felt paper down to put the material on top of that for the boat launch. They failed to cut off the edge, so it rolled up and it was uneven when they were launching boats. They brought divers back in there, went and cut it off, checked the rest of the area, making sure everything was fine, and it's all free of obstructions now.
Okay. Has anybody used that launch? I was trying to find somebody that actually used it and said that it's fine now.
The day they cut that off, we had some of our people request some of the voters to launch there to make sure there was no issues and everything went fine.
Great, thank you. I'll support this.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15J is a resolution approving change order number 2 to the construction contract with Capstone Builders Incorporated regarding City Hall Building B interior renovations, which increases the contract amount by $5,822.65.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Carroll. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance ratifying the Coventry Healthcare of Louisiana policy and rates for health insurance coverage for the City of Kenner employees, retirees, dependents for the fiscal year 2014, July 1st, 2014 through June 30th, 2015, as set forth in their proposal. Item 16B is an ordinance dedicating the proceeds received from community events sponsored by the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council to the Capital Projects Fund related to the capital budget to help fund improvements to Kenner Parks and Recreation. Item 16C is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from DocuMart and an amount not to exceed $5,064.25 for the purchase of dance programs for the 2014 dance review in accordance with telephone bid number T14-2155 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16D is an ordinance authorizing the utilization of Jefferson Parish Contract Number 55-000141159 with Louisiana Office Products for the purchase of office supplies on an as-needed basis and an amount not to exceed $125,000 annually. Item 16E is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Charvet's Garden Center Incorporated and Double M Feed for the purchase of mulch and self-hauled soil in accordance with seal bid number 14-6199, awarding an annual contract to Charvet's Garden Center Incorporated and an amount not to exceed $10,000 annually for the purchase of red mulch, sienna softscape, and black garden soil, and awarding an annual contract to Double M Feed and an amount not to exceed $10,000 annually for the purchase of pine mulch, pine straw, bales, and sienna softscape. Item 16F is an ordinance approving amendment number 1 to the engineering contract with Linfield, Hunter, and Junius Incorporated regarding Lake Trail Drive drainage evaluation and improvements, which increases the maximum agreement amount to $270,605 in order to accommodate an expansion of the scope of work to include design-related services. Item 16G is an ordinance ratifying proposals from AMRISC LP for the renewal of commercial property insurance for the period of June 1st, 2014 through June 1st, 2015. Item 17 is reports from the council and our special committees.
Yes, Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. I used to call this gentleman Joanne Segura's husband, but tonight he's sitting in the audience as a councilman-elect for District 2, and I'd like Mike Segura to go ahead and stand up, and just in 2 months, he'll be taking my place up here at this seat, and I wish him the best of luck. Mike? Now, Mike, if I can give a recommendation so far as an assistant is concerned, your wife does a heck of a job, just to let you know. Also, one more thing. Mr. Gonzalez, thank you, and Mr. Jimmy Dennis, I'm still trying to do that road work at Delaware and 33rd. I've gotten a couple of calls, and I know that, well, go ahead, take the mic and tell me what you're doing out there.
We're going to get it done. I think you had brought to my attention last night that there was one wheelchair ramp that was improperly constructed. We're going to repair that, and in addition to that, we're also going to go ahead and do some additional wheelchair ramps at that intersection and remove and replace some panels.
Perfect, and just send the fund form on, and we will,
Absolutely.
we will take care of it. Thank you very much for that, and for the residents in Morningside Park, I think we're just getting started on street panel replacement from West Metairie to Airline, from Roosevelt to Williams. Mr. Mayor, I notice we've given proclamations to Mr. Dylan Coffer, who may be back with us, I hear. Is that true?
He's working part-time.
Okay, good. But what's 20 years, 21 years? Mr. Joshua 31 years. We had an assistant in code enforcement, I think it was 35 years. I brought up as an example of something last meeting. I don't know if it's possible, if I could put something in writing, or if you'll acknowledge it now. I don't know that we've done a proclamation for her, but I think she's warranted one after all those years. And that's all I have. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, Councilmember DeFrancis.
Thank you, Council President. Mr. Gonzalez, again, we have made a commitment to the residents of Chateau Palmer about having a final meeting, am I not correct, before the work actually begins? Are we still moving forward with that meeting, sir?
I believe one may have been scheduled already, but we do intend to have another meeting with the residents that are going to be directly impacted by the construction of this new sewer lift station.
I just wanted to put it on the record because you and I made that commitment to them.
Oh, absolutely.
And you and I are working together to find a date that works for both of us and for the people that are going to be impacted.
Right,
So-
and it may have been said already. I got to check with Barbara in my office.
And I'll double check with my assistant as well.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Reyno.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to thank the Treasure Chest Casino and Mayor Yenny and the administration for the crawfish and music that we had out there in Lake Town. I know it was a huge success. There was a lot of people that showed up and really enjoyed it, so just wanted to give them a little shout out. And that's it. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that we had the pleasure of cutting the ribbon the other day for the hotel down by the Punch Train Center. Often we get excited just about cutting ribbons on new businesses, but when you have a business that reinvests in the community at the tune of millions of dollars on a total renovation, it's something to be applauded and to be celebrated too. So it was a very nice ribbon cutting. The lobby is absolutely beautiful. All the rooms have been redone. The food was unbelievable. It was really good. So we're very grateful that whenever any businesses reinvest in our community. So I told them we're reinvesting in our community, and so we appreciate that they are too. A couple of other things that are coming up. What was it I wanted to mention? I guess I can't remember. Maybe the moving wall. Did I mention the moving wall? That'll be in May. The Vietnam wall that is replicated of the wall in Washington, and it's moved around the country, and we were chosen as one of the sites for the wall. Are you looking at me? Oh, you're listening to me. Okay. I didn't know if you were trying to correct me, but the dates are May 15th through the 19th. I think we're going to have an opening ceremony on the 16th. So it's an unbelievable honor, and it's going to be a very moving tribute. So we invite all of our citizens to join us. Yes.
Yeah, actually, the Thursday night before the opening ceremony, we're going to invite the gentleman that brings the wall around the country to come to our council meeting.
Great.
Yeah, we're starting to gear up to get a lot of advertisement. But actually, on the morning of the opening ceremony, we're going to have a procession down Williams Boulevard. And we've already talked to the police chief about the rolling escort. So, we'll have a nice procession down Williams, and then we'll have the ceremony at 10 o'clock that morning. But anyway, we will be bringing the gentleman here to the meeting the night before the ceremony. But we'll be gearing up our advertising. I know we've already had some information in the Kenner Star, but we will be gearing up more advertising because, right, it is a big honor, and it's something that we're trying to do a real good job with honoring what we call the fallen heroes. And actually, there's 47 fallen heroes from Jefferson Parish that we're going to especially be honoring, and there's 7 fallen heroes from Kenner that died in Vietnam. So you'll be hearing more about it.
Very good. And I would like to wish everyone a very blessed Easter, if that's what you're celebrating this week. And I know that Passover is also this week, so it's a holy time for many people in our community. So we extend to everyone a very blessed week in your celebrations. Okay, Council Clerk.
Yes, ma'am. Item 18 is new business. At the request of Councilmember DeNapolis, a discussion regarding the 2013-2014 CDBG Children's Theater Grant that was approved but never dispersed.
Councilmember DeNapolis, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Arlene, I was just wondering if you could come to the mic for a second. I know we talked about this at the first meeting in February about getting an RFP out on, so that we can get that money into a reputable company that can actually disperse this money and actually train these kids in theater and production and everything else. Where are we with that RFP?
Well, back in February, as you mentioned, I met with Natalie Newton and also Ms. Lee Roussel with our city attorney's office. We pulled together the RFP to a final stage. Just this week, when I saw the item on the agenda, to be honest with you, I sent my final draft back to Natalie
Great.
For review. It's just been a situation, Councilman DeNapolis, with multiple things on my plate. Since diving into it back in February, I really hadn't had a chance to do a final review and fine tune it to its final stage.
All right.
But I did get it back to Natalie this week.
All right, if you can send a copy to Donna, and that way I can go
Okay.
ahead and look at it, because what
Okay.
I'd like to do is get that on the next, well, y'all gonna go ahead and bid that out.
Right, it'll be turned over to Ms. Teresa.
And the reason why my
purchasing.
urgency is because that money would really greatly benefit, obviously the summer programs that we have,
Right.
okay? And that's the sense of urgency, is that if we don't disperse that money, it's not gonna do a whole lot of good in wintertime. So that's what, back in February when we talked about that. So if we can get that to the bid department, that would be really good.
Okay.
I really would appreciate that. And we just wanna see it off the shelf and,
I
and,
understand.
and in the
You're
hands
right.
of
It's-
whoever's gonna administer that program for us. And I know there's several people that are very much interested in it, to get that done for the kids, because,
It's a-
acting, theater performance, lighting, directing,
Mm-hmm.
a stage presence, and just the whole idea is something that New Orleans is becoming
Well,
very
it's-
popular for.
And
you
it
know?
develops the kids. It increases their self-esteem, and
Exactly.
it introduces them to public speaking. And there's a lot of positive benefits that I've learned about this since you've, asked us to put this together. That's a big benefit for children and their development. So
Right, and I also want to thank my two
great. It'll
colleagues
be
on
great.
that committee, that's, Councilman Stagney and Councilman Carroll, because this is, it takes three of us to come up with this idea, and I want to thank them as well, because I think this is something that we'll offer that other communities don't have.
Yes.
And that's what's, those are things that we look for in Kenner.
I agree.
I really appreciate it. Thank
No
you.
problem.
Arlene.
Thank you.
Okay.
Item 19 is unfinished business and are motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position.
We have none.
Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Mr. Almarella.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 42 years. I want to thank the people, the voters who voted for me, who supported my campaign and voted for me for mayor. On the other side of that coin, I want to say approximately 40,000 voters did not go to the polls and vote. Once again, the voters who did not go to vote allowed the special interests to control this city and this government. Also, the shenanigans that took place during this election cycle was disgraceful. And I can tell you, as a result, the council members that are returning to this council and this administration, you are a disgrace to this city. And this is one citizen that will never roll over and go along with any agenda that's controlled by the special interests in this city. Now, I want to also say this. 13C through 13H is some of the most ridiculous, most legislation I've ever seen since I've been living in this city, the 42 years I've been living in this city. And I think the reason why all of these items was deferred, because I don't think the proper procedure was followed to even put it on the agenda. Anybody got any comments, any questions for me? It's imbecilic is the word I want to use. The most imbecilic legislation I've ever seen in the 42 years I've been living in this city. Anybody got any comments, any questions for me?
No? Thank you, Mr. Morella.
Thank you.
Mr. A.J. Giordano.
AJ,
A.J. Giordano, 3518 California Avenue. First, I'd like to congratulate Councilwoman DeFrances, Raynard, Councilman Carroll, and you, Mayor. Congratulations on your election. And I'm here with a few issues tonight, and all pertain back to the sidewalk issues. The first one is I had a meeting with the mayor on February 11th. Y'all have pictures and some items there. It was about the deplorable conditions, as you see some of the pictures there, the sidewalks, handicap ramps at the intersections, grass. So there's another item. Well, first off, let's talk about the one with the sidewalks. Mayor Yanni deferred this to the city attorney's office to see legality on getting the owners of the properties to either fix them or, what's the legal matter here going to be on, how we're going to get these residents to take care of the issue. The other issue is probably relating to code. As you see some of the pictures there with grass completely going over the sidewalks, you can't even see the sidewalks anymore. And to my understanding, there's no ordinance on it. That something might need to be amended to bring to the, as far as just the grass heights and stuff like that, that all these sidewalks need to be cleared and corrected. Now, whose responsibility, the owners, I understand it's when you develop a property, sidewalks are yours to, put in, your improvements. Driveways, sidewalk it should be responsibility of the owner. I understand that. That's part of the zone and building code and all, building permits and everything. But now, these sidewalks, also there's another one in there where sidewalks have been covered up by dirt because of the subsidence. Everything is subsided. Now, property owners have filled in the land, but now there's no sidewalks been replaced in there. So that's the items there with the sidewalks, some questions there on how we're going to deal with that. I guess, and the other day yesterday, in fact, I was reading on the 2013 plan for the city, and some of the weak points in the survey said lack of pedestrian-friendly neighborhoods. Another one was the aesthetics of the city's residential neighborhoods. And number 9 in the goals to the plan, improve code enforcement practices to prevent decline in middle-income neighborhoods and to attract new investment to struggling neighborhoods. These items in the plan. So, it's all about, comes back to safety and quality of life. It's just more issues I brought up last time about the park, and I'm going to revisit that now, too. I see the chief has left, but, because I'm going to recite the code about parking. And this is from 1954. It hasn't been revised or amended since then, as far as I know. It shall be unlawful for any person to park, station, or cause to be parked or stationed any motor vehicle upon or across any public sidewalk or passageway within the city.
Can you wrap it up because your time has expired?
I'm sorry, what?
Can you wrap it up because your time has expired?
I can defer to Debbie's time.
Actually, you can't give your time to someone else, but she could come up and speak for 3 minutes.
Okay. My time's over then? I just have one more statement then. So.
Go ahead. That's what I was just saying. Just wrap it up.
Okay. The last one was the definition of sidewalk in the Code of Ordinances. The word sidewalk shall mean any portion of a street between the curb or the lateral line of the roadway and the adjacent property line intended for the use of pedestrians. So this is my interpretation all the way from the curb to the property line is not intended for any use of any parking. It's use for the pedestrians in it. But that pretty much covers what I had to say then.
Okay. Thank you. Does Ms. Giordano want to come up and speak? No. Okay. You want to speak now? Okay. Councilmember Reyno.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Vallow, we do have an ordinance in place as far as the grass overgrowing the sidewalks.
I was unable to locate that ordinance. But I kind of remember that most likely Ms. Shaw actually enacted that stuff, so I'm still trying to track it down. I was doing some review this evening with regard to the maintenance of sidewalks. Mr. Giordano was discussing that there are a lot of sidewalks that are in deplorable condition here in Kenner. And what it would require is for me to send a certified letter to the individual property owners, telling them and giving them an estimate of the cost to repair that. And in this economic times, I think that repair of some sidewalks may be difficult, and that may be something that we can look into with the 2030 plan to kind of, to boost the assistance that we can give to people. I don't believe, if that's possible or not, but I'm certainly going to be looking into it.
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez, on ADA sidewalk corners, what is the city's policy? I know we do them when there's repairs to the roadway at the corners.
Primarily when we have repairs near a corner, okay, ideally, we would like to incorporate ADA ramps.
Okay. And there's nothing right now as far as trying to make every corner ADA accessible?
Compatible, not to my knowledge.
Okay. I appreciate you coming, bringing this information to us. Ms. Vallow, I know, is going to look at that ordinance regarding the grass and the sidewalks. And as far as the ADA corners, as we repair streets, we'll do ADA corners. And if, I know I've done a few in my district, but we're limited on funds. We can't go out throughout the whole city and make them all ADA corners.
Right, well, I'm just, getting to that issue of the repairs, I haven't been.
She stated she's going to look into that.
Right.
So, we'll get back with you. Appreciate you coming tonight. Thank you.
Councilmember DeFrancis, were you speaking on this, or? Okay. You have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. Ms. Vallow, I just wanted to mention, I'm sorry to reinforce something that was just said, that I did have an issue in District 4 with grass growing over the sidewalk, making it dangerous for children, whether they were riding their bike or walking. And I do know for a fact that Ms. Shaw did look into it and find an ordinance or regulation, whichever term you wish to use at this point, that addressed that issue. We were able to get the property owner to trim, properly.
Trim the sidewalk line.
Exactly. I just wanted to add that. That might help.
And I apparently stand corrected with regard to the city doing sidewalk work. We are prohibited from doing that because there's a moratorium in place. I was unaware of that moratorium.
And Mr. Gonzalez, if we could look into any kind of, any kind of grants out there, especially from the federal government, that could help us do more of the handicap accessible ramps in our city. I think that would be great. I know you work hard to get as many grants as you can, but if we could kind of focus on that a little bit, I think that would be great, because I know there are quite a few that I've seen throughout not just in District 4 and other parts of the city, that really do need to be addressed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all your help, though.
Yeah, those type of grants are going to be hard to come, especially for residential neighborhoods. When you're dealing with a major thoroughfare, yes, you can probably apply for grants to repair roadways, maintain roadways, new construction, and so on. Okay, and at that point in time, you can address the handicap ramp, because the federal government will dictate to you that you got to put handicap ramp. But when you get into residential neighborhoods,
A lot hard.
okay, those type of grants are hard to come by.
I appreciate your help there. Thank you.
Ms. Dolores Windsor? Good evening.
Good evening,
State
everyone.
your name and address for the
My
record.
name is Dolores Windsor, 1521 Mayfield Street, Kenner, Louisiana. I've been calling code for the last month and a half about the grass that's growing off of 32nd and the interstate. We're not getting anyone to help us. People walk that area, and that grass is so high that someone can be abducted up in that area with that grass being that tall like that. It's kind of dangerous. So we asking, please, can we get some help to get someone to cut that grass over there?
Okay, and I think Councilmember Stagney wants to answer that. Councilmember Stagney.
Ms. D, thank you for coming. We've talked several times on this. In the past, we finally got them to cut it, but they seem to be recidivist violators at times. Earlier in the meeting, I brought up that property had been a land swap from the original owner to now the corporate office of Home Depot. Before the meeting, I had spoke to Ms. Vallow regarding this issue, and I believe that she has it may be in the process right now of them being cited, and we're going to have to call them to the table and just say, listen, you got to have a regular schedule, because we're coming to the summertime, and we can't continue to have 5-foot, weeds up there.
Well, yes, because I have a blind person that lives with me, and he walks 30th Street through that way coming home, and he don't know what's going to be in them bushes or anything.
Right.
So we please ask him for some help to get that, to keep that maintained, please. Thank you.
Ms. Vallow?
And I will certainly make sure, pardon me, I will certainly make sure that it's addressed very promptly for you.
Is there some electronic device that's going off? If so, if somebody would silence it. Councilmember Carroll, did you want to speak to this issue, or? Okay, Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. And Ms. Windsor, thanks for coming also. Just to give a point of reference for everyone, even though this is on 32nd Street, which is in District 2, the neighborhood, the Lincoln Manor subdivision abuts this. So this is as important to me as it is to Councilman Stagney. I would like for Ms. Vallow also to keep me abreast of this. And Ms. Windsor, when you call to District 2, please give me a call also so we both can monitor this, because it is the Lincoln Manor subdivision that abuts this, and the people walking, a lot of children, the summertime, school's going to be out. So this is something we need to address immediately. And if it means contacting the property owners to get their attention, then that's what we need to do. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
All right. Mr. Richard Brown? This way.
Thank you, Madam President. Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane, Kenner. First off, I want to congratulate the council members who were reelected and the new council members, Mr. Segur, and want to echo what I think an earlier speaker said about the sidewalks, the deplorable shape of our sidewalks, especially in University City and parts of Driftwood. Man, I hope some of this 2030 money can be used to repair our sidewalks. They really are in deplorable shape. And I also have a problem with people who park their cars on the sidewalk. Now, I'm here to speak about the proposed charter changes. And I'm glad those were deferred. I have a serious problem with most of these. There are 2 or 3 of them that I could agree to, but the language
Wait, let me
needs-
just ask, is it appropriate to talk about?
I
Is
think
it
we can
okay
talk
for-
about anything during this.
Thank you, Mr. Legal Opinion. I just want to make certain, because I know that we have restrictions on what we can discuss, so I just want to make certain that it's appropriate.
I think it's the prerogative of the chair, particularly since these items have been deferred. It's pointless to discuss anything with them today.
I just want to make certain that there's nothing, we wouldn't be in violation of anything if we did, because we're very careful not to discuss legislation among ourselves
Right.
publicly when it's on for first reading.
I mean, it really is not appropriate to go into any details with it because they've been deferred.
Okay, so I'll just caution you to try to be very general in your statements, and probably the better, more appropriate time would be when we're going to be voting on it.
Madam President, I believe during this portion of the meeting, citizens can address the council on other subject matters that were not on the agenda.
I appreciate
I'm
that.
not asking the council members to discuss it.
I appreciate that, Mr. Brown, and I hope that you appreciate that I'm a rule
I do.
follower. And when there is a
do.
rule that I think I am not aware of, that I would ask for the appropriate person to give me the ruling. I'm just asking him his
Yeah.
opinion, because he is the one who we look to for that.
I understand.
And you are a parliamentary man, so you should appreciate when somebody would try to follow the rules as opposed to be critical of somebody who would try
do.
to follow the rules. Proceed.
Thank you, ma'am. I have and I want to bring these up because these are things I want the council members to consider between now and the next meeting, and I hope some of these will be deferred permanently. You know, I have a problem with proposition number 1, which would apply to the council, which I understand the reason for it, that it makes plain that the council clerks and the council assistants are not part of civil service and that they're not under the control of the mayor. I understand that and don't have a problem with that. I think that's already the case, but if you want to clarify it, that's fine. What does concern me is that that proposed charter change goes further, and I think it goes further. It says the council can also employ additional administrative personnel in an unlimited number, in addition to the council clerk and 5 assistants for her and 1 assistant for each council member. I think if that's not what this change intends, then it's very poorly drafted, because it's very clear that you can still employ additional personnel over and above the clerk, the 5 assistants, and the 7 assistants for the council members. On proposition number 2, regarding bond issues, what this proposes to do is take away the right of the people to vote on revenue bonds, pure and simple. It adds nothing. It's taking away protection that our charter gives to the citizens. The charter right now says all proposals for the issuance of revenue bonds must be approved by a majority vote of the qualified electors. You're taking that out and saying simply that the only elections that have to be called are those that state law requires. We have to do that anyway. You're already bound by that provision. So you're not giving the citizens any protection here. You're taking away the right of the citizens to vote on revenue bonds. If you want to...
All right, Mr. Brown, I know your time has expired, and I've waited a while to turn it back on, so if you could wrap up your comments,
Sure.
I'll give you a little extra time.
Sure, thank you, ma'am. You know, what I would hope the council would do would be to amend that provision to state simply that all proposals for the issuance of bonds must be approved by the voters, all bonds. And the charter change number 3 on the salaries, folks, I'm not going to go quite as far as Mr. Morella did to use the term he did to describe it, but I do find, you know, salary increases in the range of 50% to be a bit unreasonable.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, ma'am.
I failed at the beginning of the meeting to recognize the fact that we had some Boy Scouts in the chambers, and so at this time, I would like to recognize you. What troop number? Or you come forward. Because normally I would, you know, all of us would invite you to do the pledge, so I apologize for that. Do it again. Tell us your troop number.
We're with Troop 221 from Kenner, Louisiana.
From Kenner, yay, good. And at what level are we advanced to, or?
I am at Life Scout, and you are at, he's at First Class.
Great, and tell me y'all's names.
My name is Frank Noto. I'm Senior Patrol Leader, and this is my brother Nicholas Noto, and he's a Patrol Leader.
Great, and what school do y'all go to?
I go to Bonneville High School, and he goes to Adams Middle School.
Go Pathfinders. So welcome. Are we earning something for being here tonight?
Yes, ma'am. We're learning citizenship in the community and trying to get that done.
Do you have to write something about how I just fussed at somebody? Because I do. I'm a rule follower. I can't help it. So y'all are on break from school?
Yes, ma'am. Just got it out yesterday.
Good for you. Well, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all's week off, and thank y'all for coming tonight, and I apologize that I failed to recognize you earlier.
That's perfectly fine, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Two more things I wanted to say. First of all, Mayor, I hope you have a lot of money in the 2030 plan, because now everything seems to fall under the venue of the 2030 plan. So, you know, that's good. It's got people hopeful that something that they're dreaming about is going to be taken care of. So I think that's good to invoke that type of vision in everyone. And I wish Mr. Morella was still here, because as you know, I wait my turn too, and so just because, you know, he would like us to address him right after, I don't necessarily always do it. And I don't mean this in an ugly way to him, but I tell you, I do not at all find it despicable, or whatever the word was that he used for those who were recently elected. It is a very difficult thing to put yourself out there to run for office. And you know, kudos to those who run for the first time, have run repeatedly, and have never been successful. It is still part of the process that is I have respect for. So, you know, and it can go anybody's way. And I will tell you that we always pray for our servicemen who fight to protect our freedom. And one of the freedoms is the freedom not to vote. So whether it's my opinion that it's important to vote or not, people have the freedom to do whatever they want. And for you to criticize somebody for doing something or not doing something, you know, that you really have no right. And, you know, I'm very proud to have served. I applaud all of those who are successful. I applaud all of those who tried, and for all of those who continue to participate in the community without having to ever be elected. It's not an easy thing. And as far as, you know, we'll get into salaries and all that, but let me tell you, wasn't like we had 1 million people chomping at the bit to run for some of these offices, people, and there's got to be a reason. Could it be that people aren't paid? I don't know. Could it be that you have to put up with a whole lot to sit up here sometimes? Probably so. Not too many people would, you know, it would be fun for too many people to have to be criticized on everything that you do, publicly and privately. So I applaud everybody who put themselves out there and ran for office, and I 100% disagree with Mr. Morella's comments earlier. And the only thing despicable to me is that people who constantly criticize and who never, ever have anything good to say. And, you know, I just wonder why people stick around when they're so unhappy. So I'm sure next meeting I'll have Mr. Morella get up to address my comments, and that's perfectly fine. But, you know, I could not, and normally I don't respond, but I just couldn't let it go tonight because, you know, we're all human beings, and of all weeks during the year that we should treat others like human beings, this is the one. So peace, and this is a season of reconciliation, so I forgive you, Mr. Morella. All right, meeting adjourned.